welcome again to the precinct of the Cape Town City Hall, where the State of the Nation address will be occurring this evening by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Of course, we've been taking political expectations all morning. Now I bring in Dean Macpherson, the Public Works and Infrastructure Minister. Minister, thank you so much for making time. You've been going on a campaign with the catchphrase, you want to make South Africa a construction site. How do we move away from those catchphrases into tangible results?
Well, it's no longer just a catchphrase. We are now seeing tangible results. We've released 27 state-owned properties for construction and development that are going to attract roughly 10 billion rand of investment, construction jobs and new jobs into those properties once they are developed. We are forging ahead with our 8 pillars to infrastructure development, and that is going great guns. We're seeing more money being available from government towards infrastructure projects. The budget for infrastructure, which is a committee that decides on those allocations, is now not just meeting once a year but 4 times a year. So the structural reforms in infrastructure are going at a great pace. Do you see a bridge built in 6 months? Of course not. But I'm absolutely convinced that in 2029 you're going to see all of those reforms laid out in construction projects across the country. Very shortly we will also be announcing a major build and construction project that will be taking place that will attract tens of billions of rands just into one project in itself. So the confidence is there and the reforms are taking place, and the value and the interest that our partners have, particularly in the financing industries, construction industries, is through the roof. So that's the work that we've undertaken in the last 6 months. There's still a lot more to do, but I'm very satisfied that we're headed in the right direction now.
You've been vocal about your opposition to the Expropriation Act. There's misinformation, of course, out there in social media, even the US president entering the fray, and there are some consequences, potential threats of AGOA. Who must take responsibility for this misinformation, around the Expropriation Act?
Well, let me say that what you've said around AGOA is absolutely crucial, and it should be a wake-up call for the government that we have to do everything that we can and pull out every single stop to reset and refocus our relationship with the United States. The United States is not an adversary for South Africa. They're a partner, a long-standing partner. They're our second largest trading partner. And so we need to work incredibly hard to make sure that where there are issues of misinformation or misunderstandings, that those are corrected. But also we need to make sure that our policy agenda and policy reforms are not an antithesis to another country. We want to make sure that everyone understands what we are doing and what needs to be done. So I think that there are misconceptions, but there are also problems with the Expropriation Act that need to be dealt with, and those are going to be dealt with. But it is absolutely crucial that South Africa gets onto the front foot forward now, that we get over to Washington, that we go and sit with our partners and we see how can we build a sustainable relationship to South Africa. I don't think it's helpful when the Secretary of State says he's not coming to the G20. That is not good for South Africa. And so we need to do everything that we can to rebuild, reset and realign our relationships so that we are friends with everyone and that we are able to get that investment, those jobs that American companies bring into our country, sustain them and build on them.
The fact that South Africa is part of the BRICS group of countries, is it correct that that drives the perception that South Africa is anti-America, as said by the US Secretary of State?
I don't think it's sometimes perceptions, but more about what are your articulations and your pronouncements in government. And I think in the 6 administrations there were some unfortunate and regrettable pronouncements that have been made. Now, India is a member of BRICS, but has a very good relationship with the United States. And we need to ask ourselves, what is India doing right that we're doing wrong? And I think that India understands around the issue of country interests. What is in its interests? And I don't think it's in South Africa's interest not to have a relationship with the United States that goes into AGOA, goes into our economy, goes into our cultural ties that we have. So, we've got to do everything that we can to show the world that we are non-aligned, and if we're non-aligned, we must mean it and we must speak it. And I think that where there is opportunities for further engagement with our partners, we should be doing so in a more meaningful and constructive way. And I think that there's a lot that we can learn from how India has positioned itself globally, but also within BRICS as well.
Lastly, in the inaugural meeting of the government's GNU clearinghouse, do you think that structure is leading to fruitful results when it comes to adjudicating on these policy differences between the partners of the GNU?
Speaking as a member of the DA, I don't think the clearinghouse is achieving its objectives. It still hasn't adopted a terms of reference. I think that it is not focused on policy issues to come, and it doesn't try and predict issues. So it only reacts to issues. And I think that you need to have a structure that is continuously engaging on issues and that can be predictable, so that we avoid the public spats that we see over policy and legislation. And that's why I think that it's going to be good that the President and the leader of the DA as well start meeting more regularly, start being able to, as the core anchor tenants of this coalition, to hold it together and to make sure that we put the interests of South Africa first, we grow our economy and we create jobs.
Thank you so much, Dean Macpherson, Public Works and Infrastructure Minister.